Then interview discussion on performance tuning. Basically, most of the people, they divide the interview into four parts: extraction, modeling, reporting, performance tuning. So at last he comes to that performance tuning. He says, "Did you work with performance tuning?" Yes. And what did you work? What did you work on query performance? You say, you just list out the topics. You say, I worked on aggregates, I worked on compression, I worked on partitioning, I worked on read mode, OLAP cache, information broadcasting, and only so. Or దాంట్లో ఏదో ఒకటి పట్టుకుంటాడు. He says, okay, let's hold cache. Did you work with aggregates? Yes. What is aggregate అంటాడు? Smaller cube built on a cube to improve query performance. What is the limitation of an aggregate? Data being redundantly data being redundantly stored both in aggregate and cube. Yeah, good. What is switch off aggregate? OLAP process will not identify aggregate for reporting. What is deactivate aggregate? Aggregate definition is present, the table and data is completely deleted. What is aggregate activate? It recreates those tables and does do filling from the cube to the aggregate back again. Okay. Now what is roll up? Filling every time you load new data to the cube, I must do roll up. If I do roll up, what happens? Delta. Ippudu na question. This is normal theory. Scenario. To some extent, he'll ask you questions like this. He understands, okay, you know theoretically. Then he starts giving you scenarios. I have a cube, okay. I've been loading some 5 years of data into the cube now, and this cube is an aggregate, and I've been doing roll up every day, and I've been doing compression on the cube every day. Got my point? From 5 years, I've been loading data to this cube, and this cube has got an aggregate, and there's no DSO from the source straight away. Okay. From source, I'm loading it to DSO. From DSO, I'm loading it to cube. From the cube, I've got an aggregate, and I've been doing compression also in the cube every day. Okay. Now, I've got a ticket from the user saying data for company code 1000 is wrong. Okay. And when I've checked my cube, I still see the wrong results. But when I checked my ODS, in my ODS, my values were correct. How will you fix this issue? Arthamayindana question? Simple. This. Arthamayindana? నీకు అన్నీ నేర్పించినా ఇప్పుడు వాడాలంతే. గాట్ మై పాయింట్. సో హౌ విల్ యూ ఆన్సర్ దిస్ క్వశ్చన్? అంటే ఇంకోసారి చెప్పాలా? I've been extracting data from source to ODS. From ODS, I've been loading delta to my cube, and this cube I've got an aggregate and been doing compression also into my cube. Now my user has raised a ticket. Let's say one order number or one company code data is wrong. 1000 company code is wrong. And when I validated against my source, I could see the cube is wrong, but the content in my ODS is correct. So now how will you fix this problem? When you question when you do selective deletion, will it delete data in the aggregate? No. So when you do selective deletion in the cube, but the data and the wrong data which is in the aggregate will be still giving it for reporting. Then full control ఉండాలి. ఎట్లా సిస్టమ్ చేస్తున్నట్టు ఉండాలన్నట్టు. ఓకే. సో deactivate aggregate, do the selective deletion in the cube, reload, do a DTP with full with selection with company code 1000 and reload it to cube, and then activate my aggregate back again. Okay, Nana? Adi ravala concept. Okay. Now let's say I've got a cube, I've got an aggregate, I have planned to do compression in the cube, I have planned to do roll up to my aggregate also. Which one should I do first? Compression the cube and then roll up to automatically compression. Your compression aggregate lo kadappa, cube lo. I would like to do two steps. One is roll up of data from cube to aggregate and compression of data in cube. Which one should I do first? And what are the benefits I would get? Compression first. Good. So excellent answer. If I do compression in the cube, data is reduced, means data is condensed, then I am filling aggregate. If you do compression, do you know which data belongs to which request? No. Then how do you know what data should be rolled up? Because roll up of data from cube to aggregate depends on request number. A request, now today you load new request. So when you say roll up, okay, data of this request should be filled into aggregate bus. But if you compress, does it know which data which data is coming with this request bus? So you must always do roll up first, then compression in the cube first. Okay, boss? Good. Next. Do you know how to load data from cube to cube? Next. Now let's say I've got cube A, I've got cube B. From cube A, I'm planning to load it to cube B. And I also want to see from cube A, I'm planning to load to cube B. I am also doing compression in A. I also want to do compression in A. Should I compress A and then load, or should I load and then compress?
Load and compress.
If I compress, I will not find the delta mechanism will not work then, right? Good. Okay, that's the aggregate scenario. Next, it comes into compression. Now, what is compression? Okay. When you load data into the cube, we all know, but explaining is tough little bit. When you can explain in your own words, okay? In a simple way, when you load into cube, it gets a def table. When you compress, it deletes requested information and starts aggregating the records based on the characteristic values or dimension keys and puts it to E table. That is what you leave it. Okay. Then he'll ask you, I've got the definition. Then he would ask you, I've got a cube where I'm been loading the data every day. Now I find the request which is coming today is wrong. Okay, but the request got compressed now. How will you handle this? And the logic is expecting that he wants to test whether do you know that once the cube is compressed, can you do request based deletion? No. Only option is you have to do selective deletion and reload the data back again. That's the only option. Because it is compressed, you cannot do request based deletion. That's what you would try to understand from there. Good. Now, can you do selective deletion when the compression is done? Can we do selective deletion of the queue when the compression is done? Yes, good. So why is that I'm not able to do deletion by request when the compression is done? Our topic nunchi inventory ki vellipothanu. Do you know what is no marker update in the compression antadu? It is? Yes. So normally for inventory cubes you will see adendante if it is BW 7.3 till 7.3 you will see the checkbox no marker update. If it is latest 7.4 SP11 latest, you will not see the checkbox at all. And then the property of the checkbox is controlled in DTPM, latest version. Okay. So what does the checkbox no marker update do is, let's say you're loading historical movements and you don't want these movements to go and affect my marker value. Then I'll say I'll compress without marker, so I'll enable the checkbox no marker. When I load my initial stock or when I load my delta movements, I want these movements to go and affect my marker value. So I want to compress with updating marker. So I can update my marker without selecting the checkbox. So I don't select so that because the checkbox name is no marker update. If I don't select, updates marker. If I select, does not update marker. That's the concept. That's the compression. And with zero routine. With zero once the records are compressed, while before moving it to E, if it finds all its keywords being zeros, the records can be deleted out. Good. That's the compression. Generally, they focus on compression aggregate. Nowadays aggregates is also not needed because once HANA comes in, aggregates also ruled out. Then they query read mode away with the footage code. Or they might put a generalized question to you. What is that you will do in order to improve query performance? Let's say I give you a query and I ask you to improve the performance of the query. When you get a question like this, they're not looking for some dedicated answer, say compression or line approach. No approach. Say as soon as you've been given a query, what will I do? I'll go to RSRT, find out my statistics and see whether my more time it does the front end or reading time or overlap time. And I'll check the aggregation ratio. Based on that, if I say more time is at the database time, I would deal with creating indexes on the cube, or I would do with DB statistics. I would and more on the I need to focus on reading of the database. I would build on aggregates so that the number of records can, or I will focus on compression or read mode of the queries. It will ravel. And if I see most of the time with overlap process, I will focus more on overlap cache or compression and aggregates. At ravel answer. He looks at approach. There's no dedicated because when there's some issue in the real time, there will be no dedicated solutions. Avuna? There will be a lot of solutions. We have to come out with an optimized solution. That's the concept. So, when you get questions like this, he's looking at more like your approach. Okay, issue ఎలా వెళ్తాడు వీని అప్రోచ్ ఏంది చూస్తాడు అన్నమాట. అది పాయింట్. ఓకే బస్ ఇంకా లోడింగ్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ అడుగుతాడు. ఇంకా నార్మల్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్స్ యూ డీల్ దట్స్ నథింగ్ మచ్ ఇంతేనా టు హ్యాండిల్ దట్.